I was a lady tall and lean, who became England's 9-day queen. After I wedded, I was beheaded by the sharp blade of the guillotine. Bradgate House was my family home, where I'd sit with a book all alone. The house is no more, confined to folklore, in the park where wild deer still roam.
In the 15th century, Thomas Gray started work on a new brick gatehouse to his ancestral manor house which stood in Groby. Thomas was one of two sons from the marriage of John Gray and Elizabeth Woodville. Thomas's father was later killed in battle, and his mother went on to marry King Edward IV. This gatehouse was never finished, as Thomas Gray started work on a great house in his hunting park at Bradgate, one of two parks belonging to the manor of Groby. It had been passed on to the Gray family through marriage back in 1445, and the Gray family went on to own it for the next 5 centuries. It isn't difficult to see why Bradgate was preferred for the building of this great house. It's an area of outstanding beauty, complete with a pretty little brook, the River Lynn, running along the bottom of the valley. So here is the exact spot chosen by Thomas to build his great house. Sadly though, Thomas died in 1501, having made little progress other than preparing the land ready for the building to commence. It was left to his son, also called Thomas, to take over the task. By his death in 1530, Bradgate House was largely completed. This grand country estate was built from red brick, a trend that had become popular on the continent. Brick was expensive but also decorative, and this would reflect not only wealth but good taste. Bricks would be fired to produce different colours, which would be used to create patterns such as the diamond effect still visible today. Thomas's son Henry, who was married to Frances, took over the estate, and it was here that their daughter Jane Grey, who became Lady Jane Grey, the 9-day Queen of England, was born and brought up. Jane became the principal pawn in a game of political chess aimed at placing a Protestant queen upon the throne, after the death of Edward VI, who was of ill health and unlikely to live long. By being forced into a marriage to Guildford Dudley, whose father led the government of Edward VI, Jane was crowned Queen of England on the 10th of July 1553. It was a bold move, but when Henry VIII's eldest daughter Mary gathered an army and marched on London, Lady Jane's reign of 9 days collapsed. All major players were executed, including Lady Jane and her husband Guildford Dudley. In the mid-17th century, Bradgate House became a target for royalist soldiers, as the Grey family were prominent supporters of the parliamentary cause throughout the Civil War. The house was attacked, though not seriously damaged. According to legend, a fire broke out towards the end of the 17th century and destroyed the house. The fire was said to have been started deliberately by Lady Elizabeth, the wife of another Thomas Gray, the 2nd Earl of Stamford. She was miserable at Bradgate House and complained to her sister about being stuck out in the countryside in the middle of Charnwood Forest. Her sister replied, saying she should set fire to the house and make her escape in the confusion. However, facts state that a fire did break out and seriously damaged the northwest tower. Lady Elizabeth was suspected of starting the fire, but the suspicion was never proven. The couple, Lady Elizabeth and Thomas Gray, eventually divorced and the Earl remarried. In any event, the house was repaired in time to welcome a royal visit by William III and Queen Mary II in 1696, but such repairs and improvements put the Earl deeply in debt. When the 4th Earl of Stamford inherited the title in 1739, Bradgate House was abandoned and left to decay. With no one to care for the building, first the weather, then locals removing the materials from the site accelerated the decline and ultimate ruin of a great Tudor mansion, once home to an innocent child murdered by her parents' ambition. So here we are today, enjoying our stroll in the park. What I haven't mentioned is the beer mug-shaped tower on the distant hillside. To find out the story behind that, then view my other video called A Postcard from Old John. The remains of the house you'll see in Leicestershire's Bradgate Park you'll be. But please do not fear, it's open all year, but the car park is no longer free.